Previously on Ballz.
And start at the beginning, just so that those of us like me who don't know what the hell is going on, and particularly now that information's come out now, we're sort of going, well, why wasn't this out earlier? We'll get our guest Paul in a little later on the phone, but let's just find out the background to this whole thing. Deon is here, Vice President of the South African Equestrian Federation, to chat about what is known as the Paul Hart versus Alex Pieternoul, or Olympic, what are they calling it?
Hoofgate.
I wasn't aware of that. Hoofgate. There we go.
I just called it that.
Hashtag it now. Hoofgate. There we go. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, pleasure.
All right, so now we've got an Olympic Games coming up, and we have obviously two contenders, right?
Yes.
Are you guys not involved yet at this stage?
No, it starts on Saturday.
No, but I mean, you guys, when did you get involved in the? Are you involved in the selection processes?
No, we're not. We're the federation. Just to give some background, we're a federation, and
Yep.
we have various member associations.
Okay.
Polo cross, etc., etc. Then the traditional English sports, being eventing, jumping, dressage, etc., have also an association. And this trouble started within that association and the eventing discipline specifically.
All right.
At a point, it was then escalated to the federation for us to intervene and try and resolve the matter.
Okay, so their federation, eventing,
Yeah.
select,
Yes.
and are they told by SASCOC you're allowed to pick one?
No, there's a elimination process that takes place around the world. There are only 75 slots available for eventing at the Olympics,
Okay.
and the entire world is competing for those slots. So this process started a year ago, and it's based on sort of various events where the riders, the competitors, qualify and get given points, much like a squash ladder would be, and a ranking arrangement, and then various teams would qualify based on this, and eventually there's some slots reserved for individuals, so that basically each continent can also get an individual.
So each one gets one individual.
One
they can
individual
pick.
as well, yeah.
And this is where all the trouble starts.
Yeah, and then South Africa did not qualify a team. In fact, we had horses injured last year, but we did secure an individual slot.
All right. So now the decision had to make is which individual represents South Africa,
Yes.
and that's whose decision is that now? Back to the federation.
No, it's the eventing technical committee.
Okay.
They have a structure, and just to go back a step, so
Does it go on the ranking of which South African? Then should it go on the ranking of which South African? Whichever South African is ranked higher should go.
Yes.
Okay.
But and this is really one of the problems. The core of the problems is when we talk South African competitor in the horse world, there are two athletes you have to consider. It's the rider and it's the horse.
See, everyone forgets the horse in the
Exactly. And the big thing is that the horse is an animal with its own mind. It needs to be fit as well. It needs to acquire the skills.
But Deon never gets a medal.
But no, it gets a medal with a jockey, and it
Does
gets a
it?
bag of carrots at the end. But
Yeah.
There's a chain at 400,000 Rand performance bonus that they get.
well,
It's a lot of hay.
yeah,
That's
special,
a lot of-
special
lot of
carrots.
oats.
All right. So
Name
yeah.
and stop it.
But the bottom line is, and that really is one of the issues, is that the criteria that had been set 2 years ago, word for word made reference to rider only.
Yeah.
And that's where the first problem arose. And these things will only surface really in a legal challenge.
Okay, which I'm sitting with. Is this from the Court of Arbitration for Sport
Yeah.
document? Okay.
But then, besides having to qualify for the slot, of course, you may have various riders that qualify and compete for this one slot now, and that's where this ranking arose. But then you also have to be qualified in terms of the FI, which is the international organization, in terms of their eligibility rules. And then finally, we must meet the requirements of SASCOC. You know, they, for Team South Africa, have also set specific requirements. And one of those led to the second problem. You know, that so if an athlete isn't eligible in terms of SASCOC rules, you know, we could present as many athletes to them as we want, but if they're not compliant, they can't be selected by SASCOC if they're not eligible.
Okay.
And that was the second problem. And in fact, that was the core problem. That was the first problem that we had. And that's where the legal dispute arose.
So where were the problem areas then? So now, okay, so after this whole thing, who was selected to go?
Paul Hart.
Paul Hart.
Paul Hart was selected.
He qualified on all the criteria.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we can put the qualifying criteria off the page. You take it off the desk for Paul Hart.
Right. And then an objection was then lodged by
Alexander
Pieternow because he's obviously feels he's ranked higher than Paul Hart and therefore deserves to go instead of Paul Hart because there's only one spot available.
Yes.
Where then did it come? Where did it come down to the fact that he failed on certain criteria? Then what were the criteria?
Well, when we got when the federation got involved, we noted that it wasn't eligible in terms of SASCOC's requirements.
What are those requirements?
And well, first of all, you must have competed in your national championships,
which he hasn't done for apparently 13 years or something.
Or you must have competed in the world championships,
which he has done.
Which he hasn't.
Oh, he hasn't.
No,
okay.
Preceding the Olympics,
right.
Or you must have competed representing South Africa in one of the qualifying events leading up to the World Championships.
Yeah.
And that really is the issue for us, and that's why the Federation and SASCOC had decided that he wasn't eligible, because he was not representing South Africa when he rode at the qualifying events to the World Championships. But remember now, he hadn't competed in the national championships, he hadn't competed in the World Championships, so we could only then find him eligible if he had competed representing South Africa at the qualifying events. And that's really the core of the dispute. There's a process when you compete abroad, and we have various people campaigning abroad as part of furthering their careers.
It's like tennis. I mean, the guys don't play in the SA Open necessarily, whatever, but they'll go and play tennis for South Africa at the Olympics. So I would imagine that the criteria are, if it's SASCOC criteria, should that be the same? Is it the same for different sports, or is it only sport specific? Or do the federations and people like yourselves determine the criteria with SASCOC for that particular sport?
For that level of sport in your discipline, yeah. So we have a process where if a competitor wants to compete abroad, he or she needs to submit their entry forms to us for us to verify certain things, and it's an administration process essentially. And if all the things are correct, they may go on and compete at the event. Which is different to an official event where they're going to represent South Africa, where they have to be selected and will be awarded national colours. But in this case, and Alex Pieternow was going through this process, and we were endorsing the paperwork and approving the entries. They see that as him having represented South Africa officially. We say no, he was a South African competing abroad. And there's a material.
Sorry,
who was he representing? You said the third event he wasn't representing South Africa. Who was he?
No, he was competing as a South African in the international arena.
Yes, representing who?
As an
individual. It's like Kevin Anderson playing tennis in the ATP Tour.
Okay.
He's not representing South Africa. He's playing as an individual, but he happens to be South African.
Yes, exactly. And all the rugby players playing for clubs around the world. It's exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and that was the issue, and well, we lost that case with CAS. When this was taken to CAS, we had somebody testify against us, and really, and today still we believe that he's not eligible, and that is why we took the stance of resubmitting Pieternow, because we believe the other athlete's not eligible, despite the ruling, and we believe CAS haven't understood the case we've made. And the problem is that if we nominated Pieternow, knowing that we had this, we had the situation, we are endorsing this, and we have problems with awarding colours then to all the athletes that are around the world at every event, and we didn't want to set that precedent.
Okay, so you kind of lost me there again. So I mean, you said you kept resubmitting Pieternow.
No, I think he was talking about
Hart.
About Hart, yes.
Please don't get the name wrong, because then it throws me right off kilter. I was going to say. All right, so you kept, obviously, because he lives in South Africa.
Who?
Hart?
No, he's a South African who
lives
South
here,
African,
but he's qualified under all the criteria. Yeah.
His horse is a South African horse that was bred here, that went overseas in 2010.
Yeah.
Was in France for a while with the rest of our team, and then went to America to compete in the World Champs. Went and then was brought back to the UK, and has been in the UK, campaigning in preparation for the Olympics.
All right. So that's as a stand, because Alex how do you pronounce it? Pieternow is now allowed to ride in the Olympics. As you say, CAS has ordered SASCOC to let him compete after he appealed SASCOC's decision of sending no one to the games.
Yes.
So he is going. So Hart was never going.
Hart was always going.
Hart
Was
He's
always
going,
going. So
yeah.
he is going still.
No.
No, he's been.
And therein
And
lies
he's there.
the rub.
And he's
Yeah,
there.
So he's been yanked,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
but he's there.
Yes, he's
Yes.
there. You know, he was due to go onto Olympic Park yesterday morning.
Oh my goodness!
Terrible.
How do we get ourselves in this mess?
But here's my question, and perhaps this is something that someone from SASCOC should answer, is why did the court find against SASCOC? Because the court is merely following procedure. They're judging a case before everybody's having a go at this Petanel guy. But really, the blame should lie with SASCOC. That's what I believe, and that's how I see it.
Yeah, look, SASCOC.
Sorry, if I could just...
Yeah.
I think that they've cocked this whole Olympic thing up. If you look at the hockey guys,
No, duh.
having to qualify twice. If you look at the sponsorship, how they've handled that. So, to me, it's the court finding against SASCOC. And why did they find against SASCOC?
We were the second defendant, you know, so they found against us as well. But and the SASCOC, you must remember, works on our recommendation. You know, they don't select athletes. They select from
Federations.
athletes presented to them.
Carry on.
All right. I'll just get Poss. I think it's a good time to get Paul on the line now because I've got his statement here. He doesn't even have a South African number, John.
No, he's in England.
No, but I'm winding you up. We'll get him on the line because I've got his statement here that he's obviously put up on Facebook, and he's understandably not very happy.
Sure, especially in the true spirit of Olympics. I mean, this is sad. I get goosebumps when I think.
I
of
mean, it's
how
international
Paul
law,
must be
so it's not
suffering.
like you can have both. I mean, otherwise every country is going to come back and say a bailout too. So I mean, one has to go. It can only be one because it's only an individual. And now, it'd be interesting to find out what happens to him now. Is this a final decision that
It's
cannot
final,
be reversed?
yeah. No, there's. I mean, the community is hard at work, still trying to find reasons, but it's done. It's finished.
Hello?
Hi, Paul.
Yes.
Hi, it's Darren and the team here at Ballz Radio. How's
Hello,
it going,
Paul.
bud?
How's it? How you doing?
All right, man. Tough times. You're in London and no place to go. I mean, we've just been chatting to Deon here
Yes.
from the South African Equestrian Federation. He's been giving us the background to the story, and I'm sitting here looking at your statement, which you put up on Facebook, right, on your Facebook page.
Yes.
And maybe we'll get a copy of that and post it up there as well. But I thought, well, let's hear it literally from the horse's mouth, as in what the story is. Because to me, it sounds bizarre. It's that you qualified all the criteria, you get selected in the team, and you go over there. Alex Petanel fails on certain criteria, according to basically the background that we've been given here by Deon. But a court of arbitration has ruled that he should go, and therefore, as a higher ranked rider and now representing South Africa, he goes, and you've got to come home.
Yes.
Is that it in a nutshell?
Yes, that's the way it is.
All right. So I do, because I see I've gone through your statement there, and I fail to understand why, as you say, you're getting punished in the scenario. Then I mean, I know it's all logistics and rules and stuff like that, but just basically go through exactly what you're feeling right now.
Well, it's a lot of disappointment, really, and slight humiliation, I'd say. You know, one leaves feeling like a champion, and you want to come back having achieved something like going to the Olympic Games, which is fantastic. And unfortunately, didn't foresee this coming, and there was a loophole in one of the documents, unfortunately, and he got hold of that and held on to it, and yeah, kind of got in and I suppose won his right to ride. So we tried really hard. Everybody backed me, and SASCOC and everybody else were behind me, and I must say we tried hard, and but it gets to a point when, I mean, if they were going to pull the whole South African team, it would be ridiculous and unfair. And I'm a better sportsman than that. I'd rather this goes by and we fix it, and it'll never happen again, rather.
Yeah, but it's sad that someone has to get caught in the crossfire here, and that's clearly yourself, because you've literally, as you say, qualified for all the criteria, and now we are going to be represented by somebody at the Olympics. I mean, let's not cast any. I don't know Alex Pedernal, so I don't know if he's what his thoughts on South Africa, if he's proudly flying the flag for South Africa, or what the story is there.
Or Austria.
But the thing that confuses me here is why a decision as to who represents our country has been made by somebody overseas. When you say SASCOC have even backed the fact that they want Paul to represent South Africa there, why is an international body making a decision for South Africa?
Well, this is exactly the point as well, and this is why SASCOC took the stance that they don't believe that any court can select an athlete, and they needed this process to be completed so that they could deal with it at another time. This is an arbitration panel. And we agree to abide by their decision, which is why eventually we do, after the appeal failed as well. But we had to let the process go through all the way. The other thing is that we haven't spoken about the athlete side, whilst by the letter of the word published, Alex is a higher qualified, is a higher ranked rider at this stage. Paul, as a combination with his horse, have far more experience. And that is why our selectors, the independent selectors, chose Paul in any event ahead of Alex, because they felt as an athlete, and when I say athlete, I talk of the horse and rider, we had a better chance. In fact, they're concerned about the other horse and competing at that level.
What were the issues around dates at passports and registrations? Are these the loopholes you talk about, Paul?
Yeah.
That they found. What was the loophole that they found that allowed him to actually, that allowed the Court of Arbitration to say yes, you should be representing South Africa?
It was just on one of the documents it said the highest ranked rider and not the highest ranked combination, and in eventing it would always be the highest ranked combination, as it's a sport that you do with your horse, and you would be a team, and you would only do that over a long period of time, and so that you know each other, because it is a very fast, dangerous sport in a way, and so you would take it on a record of a rider and a horse that have built up a good team, and that's, I think, how I did get chosen. And unfortunately, with the loophole of in the one document, he got around it. So yes.
And you say that you would have accepted it if his horse had also been higher qualified than yours, but he isn't. The website results, you can go and check them out there. It's not, so as you use the analogy, it's like sending a sprinter to run in the marathon, if you to look at it as a full combination. So it doesn't make sense to me. I've sort of in the beginning been picking up sort of parts of the story, and it's been very, very confusing to try and follow. But now when you get the sort of thing in a nutshell and you look at it from a point of view of this is how it started, this is where it is now, it basically comes down to somebody overseas has basically told us who we should send to the games, and it's not like they forced somebody that necessarily deserves to be there, that SASCOC weren't backing. They were backing you, right?
100%. They've been brilliant, to say the least.
So this is an individual then that is obviously now looking at his opportunity to ride in the Olympic Games, and seeing he's going to miss out an opportunity. So he's done this on his own.
He's done it. Look, I want to rather talk about Paul and why we selected Paul rather than why Alex wasn't selected. But yes, he's an individual living abroad, has a few rides. He's professional over there, and the horse that the ride that he secured wasn't from Germany. Was transferred onto our books in December, and then he started the process of qualifying that horse so that horse could become eligible as well. The horse became eligible after our cut-off date. But of course, the horse wasn't mentioned in the selection criteria, and that is the technical flaw that we have to deal with from our side.
Yeah, it'll obviously be sorted out for the next one. That doesn't help you, right, Paul? That doesn't help you at all.
No, not at the present.
Yeah, it seems absolutely bizarre.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a scenario, and I'm thinking of a guy like Johan Crick, who obviously but I mean that was back in those days, who chose for various reasons to go and campaign on tennis around the world, and I think at some stage he even campaigned under the American flag. But South African supporters still claimed him because he's a South African guy, and Kevin Curran had to do the same thing. So how will South Africans sort of feel about Alex Pieter-Nel representing our team?
Look, there's been this massive emotional outcry, and Mr. Reddy referred to it as well, and that's one issue. He's a South African citizen. He carries our passport, and so under the current rules, he's eligible. Whether we want to consider people who have immigrated and live abroad for a long time, that's to be debated and to be decided, and then put into our selection criteria. You can't apply criteria that aren't recorded, and then that's really the issue. But there's been massive support. You see, the road to London started back 2007-8, where a decision was made to try and get to London with South African riders on South African bred horses having qualified in South Africa. It's like the dream story. And
was Pieter-Nel briefed on this whole thing back then? I mean, was he well aware of the whole process back then? Or was he suddenly just popped out going, hold on, I'm a South African, I'm higher qualified, therefore I should get in?
No, he's loosely participated in the sport. He sort of comes home every now and then and teaches a bit for reward, but teaches. Whereas at home, it's been tough. It's been a long road. It's a difficult road. It's expensive sport. We've got little infrastructure. We've got many more factors to deal with here than in fact they have abroad. The level of competition is high overseas. The field of competitors is much bigger, which is why at some stage, and the crowds are bigger that support the sport. We need to get our competitors there to become exposed to that.
Yeah.
But with Paul, when Paul was selected, it was like the dream. It was realized, and this is why there's this very strong emotional support. And this massive outcry that we've had now that he's been taken off by Cass.
All right, we'll let you go in a moment, Paul, but you know what this smacks of to me? This sounds exactly like the Benny McCarthy issue back then, when it was okay to play some games when they were in, places that were suitable for him to go and play in, but then at some stages he didn't want to play for South Africa because he had to go to places like Chad or wherever, but when there was a game in Germany or in England, he was available again. It's almost a case of, it suits me now to be a South African and represent South Africa because it's the Olympics. But any other time, it was like, no, I'd rather just carry on campaigning overseas and have to fulfill the criteria.
You said it, yeah.
That's exactly what it appeared to me.
It's a passport of convenience. Yeah,
oh, it's crazy, And Paul, I feel for you, I really do. What now? What now for you? What? Has anyone sat you down and going, right, this is the process? Do you stay there? Do you come back? Are you still part of the team because you went over there with the team? What's the story?
No, not part of the team. I'm thinking about staying on and going on to ride at Burghley, which is one of the 4 biggest events in the world that they have in eventing, which is at the end of August. And I'm here, and my horse is fit and ready, and it'll be stretching me more financially, but I think that's what I'm going to head off to do, and then I'll be back home after that, and we'll just keep going. It's the only way you can.
I think one must point out here that Paul, you can hear how much he loves the sport and is passionate about it, and he says he's going to carry on with no funds. That's also another issue.
Well, that's the problem. Those guys that are campaigning or have become professionals abroad are at home and they can keep earning an income. Paul has left. Has left the home back here, his yard back here, so he's not able to produce income right now. He can't teach. It's very tough for him, and I know the personal sacrifice has been used. I know the sponsors that would normally sponsor home don't get exposure now, so they start losing sponsorship. The rides that they had back here, those people become frustrated, so they start losing rides. It's a huge sacrifice that gets made.
And what about the legal fees?
The legal fees is a debate for another day. We'll have to, when those come in, those will have to be dealt with, and I look forward to SASCOC supporting us there because it was a stance that they had to take with us.
Yeah. Any compensation for Paul in this whole scenario? I mean, it's been disruptive. It's I think there's a certain amount of emotional stress that has gone through with it as well. There's nothing he's done wrong. He's been told you're inside, now you're getting told you're out because... Yeah, I know.
These are things we have to work out now. To extract ourselves from the situation. Remember, these things, the ruling was made, we were given it last night, and it's been a tough week with not many hours spent just trying to work this out.
Paul, all we can say is our commiserations. We wish, there was some kind of sense in this, but unfortunately it seems that, this isn't a place, I don't think it's a situation where your own country has let you down. I mean, it seems like a lot of people are... sorry?
There's something I want to say before I go. I have to say that people have supported me, and Sascock and all the other riding people and Deon and everybody have been amazing, and they really have got behind me and tried their damnedest, and it just didn't work out, and it's very unfortunate, but I'm still proudly South African, so I hope they all go well, and it's great for all of them. So next time for me.
No, well, good on you, and we wish you all the best, and good luck in the event that you are going to be taking part. I know it's going to be with mixed feelings and kind of like a bit of an empty thing, but just go and down and win the damn thing. There we go.
Darren, is there no way at the last minute, because of this breaking news, the investigation that his horse was only registered on the 24th of January?
You're talking about Pedernals?
Yeah. Is there no? I mean, surely this would make him, ineligible.
Johnny's found it.
No, it's not correct. Is
it not correct?
No, it's not correct. There was an administration process that took place on that date, but the horse had been transferred into South Africa late in December, in fact. So I've seen that, and people are digging deep
trying to find
ways to get,
and those people are trying to get you back in there.
Yeah.
Also, don't rush back too quickly.
Yeah.
All right, just hang in there. There's a lot of people that are doing a bit of groundwork to see if they can.
What happened if he got injured?
This thing.
If he got injured,
Johnny, no, don't go there. Paul, our commiserations, boss, and you've basically kept the high ground here, and we can hear how upset you are, but. It's just a really, really tough thing, and as I say, it's just an absolute administrative cock up all round, as far as the fact that someone from overseas and an overseas institution can decide who represents South Africa after South Africa have said we want you to do it. So it sounds really silly.
Yeah.
All right, man. All the best, and take care of yourself. All right.
Thoughts
Thank
with
you
you,
very
Paul.
much.
All right, Paul. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. It's bizarre. I mean, that's basically what it is.
It's no more than that. Yeah. No less.
Gareth says Paul sounds heartbroken. He does sound it, and so I hope he does well in the event he stays for. They are now trending not trending, but I mean it's now officially called Hoofgate.
Yeah.
I
think.
And Nick is obviously he's been posting a couple of tweets here. Let's share those with you. We're running late for our sports news, but we'll wrap it up here and then we'll get a look at that. Nick says Alex's horse is Assi, according to FEI, is still higher ranked than Heartbreak Hill. Heartbreak Hill is 2 and Assi has 5. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, but you can't rank.
It's a combination.
It's a combination.
It's like doubles tennis.
Exactly.
You got to look at the doubles ranking. The Woodies were ranked number 1 as a doubles pair,
Yeah.
but individually.
Yes,
they both sucked as singles players.
Exactly.
Basically,
and that's exactly it, because you need to know your horse. I mean, he's only been out 4 times in 4 competitions at his level, of which on 2 occasions he's had to withdraw. So 4 events before the Olympics. It's a 4-star. It is as big as they get. And so he doesn't know. You need to trust your horse. You need to know how your horse is going to respond to certain situations. You can't develop that in that short period.
So he's not being sent on purely on ranking.
No. The court has put him in. But because in terms of rider ranking, Alex was top of the list. In fact, we had 2 back home that were higher than him. But in terms of those,
looks like John's wife is really looking into some things here as well. Is Sally sending you all this information?
No, well, I mean, she's obviously very much involved and very close to everything. And
I think Sally's going to find something that's going to get Paul back in.
Whoa, that would be nice.
Actually, we've put out a note now. We need to accept this. It's happened. It's done. Yes. Paul's accepted it. And
but do you go as far as to say get behind Alex Pedernal for South Africa?
Well, our flag is flying there now, and that was going to be the great pity if nobody went. But that's the way.
Our flag is flying there, but I mean, again, I once again refer to the, suddenly a protest on convenience.
Yeah. Look.
I feel nothing.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's I mean, it's if that's the way, and particularly feeling for Paul, who's done nothing wrong.
Yes.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Deon, thanks a lot for coming in and joining us and clearing up for all of us exactly what the situation is. And next Olympic Games, everything will be there in black and white. That doesn't have to go to
They're typing at the moment. Yeah.
typing at the moment.
The horse is bolted.
Yeah, but the horse is bolted, exactly. It's already long gone out of the stables. Thanks for joining.
We the best on 3. 1, 2, 3. We the best.
2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays to Fridays live on Ballz.co.za. Ballz.co.za.